Hello ladies, welcome back. You joined me, Menopause Taylor, to learn all about menopause and beyond. In this video series, I cover everything, absolutely everything, to make you successful in your management of menopause and the rest of your life. One of the first things I taught you in this menopause series is that menopause lasts for the rest of your life. So no woman should ever say, been there, done that, with regard to anything in the world of menopause. The transition into postmenopause is temporary, but postmenopause itself is forever after that. So right now, we are addressing what happens at menopause, or wham, by organizing what happens at menopause into categories. And I've given you tutorials on what dries up at menopause, what shrinks at menopause, what grows at menopause. And today, I'm going to talk about what sags at menopause. If you're one of those women who mistakenly thinks menopause is temporary, this video will illustrate some of the ways in which it definitely is not. In each of the last 3 videos, there was a long list of common features for what happens at menopause in various parts of your body. In this one, there are only 4 things that sag: your skin, your butt, your breasts, and your bladder. And what I'll do is go through each of them explaining what happens hormonally and physically to make them sag. So, let's start with your skin. You've already learned that your skin dries up at menopause, and that happens because you lose estrogen. Estrogen loss also causes your skin to lose the collagen that gave your skin its nice, firm, supported state. So when you lose your collagen, your skin starts to sag. I think this is one of the things women hate most about menopause. So the sagging of your skin is all about anatomy. Let me demonstrate. This little model is my makeshift demonstration of the 3 layers of your skin. So, this firm layer on the bottom is the fatty layer. It forms the foundation, and before menopause, it's pretty thin. The next layer is the collagen layer, and it's the thickest of all. It's this yellow part. It's really, really spongy and springy. And finally, you have this outer layer. This is the layer you see. It's your skin. And this layer is constantly sloughing. But it reflects what's going on underneath in the other 2 layers. Well, when you lose your estrogen at postmenopause, this collagen disappears. And then you're left with the outer layer here sitting directly on top of the thin fatty layer. So one of 2 things will happen. If you gain weight, the fatty layer will grow. So this is fat, and if you gain weight, you'll see your skin stretch, but it won't be smooth, it'll be lumpy, and that's because fat is lumpy. But if you lose weight, or your weight remains the same, your skin will sag, because loss of the collagen layer results in an excess of skin. And most women notice the sagging of the skin on their faces. At the same time, they notice a ballooning of the skin on their abdomen. It's the darndest thing. You lose face fat at the same time that you gain belly fat. And it seems impossible to get them both right at the same time. It's as if you have to choose which part of your body to be happy with. If you stay fat fat enough to keep your face from sagging, your belly will be huge. But if you get thin enough to make your belly trim, your face will sag like crazy. So this is why so many women get fillers in their faces when they become postmenopausal. Fillers serve the same purpose that collagen used to serve. It plumps the areas that you want to plump. One of the bizarre things about sagging skin is that it seems to happen suddenly. Well, actually, it really does happen suddenly. Many women will say that they look in the mirror one day and they see sagging skin that was not there just the day before. And they are not imagining this. It really does happen that way. Your skin stays supported for as long as it can. And then one day, wham! It just lets go. Sad, but true. Now, going all the way down to your butt. Have you ever noticed how women sort of lose their bubble-shaped butt at the time of postmenopause? Butts seem to get flat and saggy at postmenopause. This is when we all start realizing how high up our butts used to be. At postmenopause, it seems as if our butts are succumbing to gravity and racing to the ground. Well, your butt is mostly muscle covered by fat. At postmenopause, you lose a lot of the muscle. So you're left with just the fat, and fat sags. You know, our butts are one of our sexy attributes. So for some women, a saggy butt really changes their perception of how sexy they are. Of course, your butt definitely doesn't really define your sexiness, but some women have a real issue with this. And next, there are your breasts. Now, your breasts are nothing but glandular structures. Humans are the only animals that consider our breasts to be anything other than a way to feed our babies. For us, our breasts have all sorts of significance beyond feeding our babies. Well, the sagging of your breasts at postmenopause is very logical from the standpoint of what causes them to sag. And in the case of your breasts, sagging is not exclusive to menopause. Here's how it works. Your breasts are made up of 3 kinds of tissue. There are glands for making milk, there is fibrous tissue to support your breasts, and there's fatty tissue to fill out your breasts. This photo shows you the glandular tissue in the melon color. The fibrous tissue is in a white color, most of which is just lines demarcating and segmenting the other breast structures. And the fatty tissue is in a yellow color. This breast model shows the same thing, but on this, the glandular tissue is here in the mauve color. The fibrous tissue is white lines outlining the mauve, and the fatty tissue is this yellow tissue. Early in your reproductive life, your breasts consist mostly of fibrous tissue. On this breast, it's hard to see it, but it's this white stuff. And when you're young, you have a ton of the white stuff. So this white stuff is the tissue that is so well supported. Fibrous tissue is what makes your breast really perky and firm. It's the reason you can win the wet t-shirt contest when you're young. And it does not sag. It is very well supported. Then, as you go through your pre-pregnancy reproductive life, your hormones stimulate your breasts cycle after cycle after cycle. Those hormones can cause some cysts to form in your breasts. Now that's how we get the term fibrocystic tissue. Those cysts, along with your fibrous tissue, make your breasts feel lumpy but firm when you touch them. So fibrocystic tissue is absolutely normal. So here's the picture of that breast again, showing you the cysts. They're the purple oval structures that are scattered throughout the breast. The word cyst means fluid filled. So these are just filled with fluid at certain times of your cycle. So there's no such thing as fibrocystic disease. That's like saying curly hair disease. It's not a disease. It's just a normal thing that you may not like. Then, when you become pregnant, your breasts get very full. And that's because the glands grow. These mauve areas get bigger and bigger and bigger. They prepare for the job of feeding the baby. And then during breastfeeding, they fill and empty over and over again. And in the process of doing all that, some of that firm, fibrous tissue gets less firm and it becomes fatty. So after pregnancy, most women notice a change in the consistency of their breasts. Instead of having perky, firm breasts, they become saggy after pregnancy. And that happens over and over again with every pregnancy. Generally speaking, the more pregnancies you have, the saggier your breasts become. Then, when you become postmenopausal, there's even more replacement of the fibrous tissue with fatty tissue. That is the common theme, replacement of fibrous tissue with fatty tissue. And if your breasts aren't completely saggy already at postmenopause, they usually achieve the full sag status at postmenopause. So what's really happening to make your breasts sag is a replacement of fibrous tissue with fatty tissue. They go from being firm to being gel-like. And that's when your breasts, just like your butt, start responding to gravity and race to the ground. Now, you probably already knew a little bit about your skin, your butt, and your breasts. But how much do you know about your bladder? I find that this is an area of very little knowledge for most women. But this is important because a lot of women have a lot of problems related to their bladders at menopause. But no one teaches you why. No one but me, of course. So first, I want you to look at a model of your pelvis. Here is the whole pelvis. Okay, now we're looking at it from above, as if we're looking from your head down. So this is your spinal column. This is your pubic bone. Looking from above, you can see that your uterus, which is the whitish yellow structure here, is on top of your bladder if you're standing up. When you stand up, the uterus tilts over on top of your bladder. Now, I want you to look at your pelvis from the side. So this shows how your uterus literally sits right on top of your bladder. This is a body cut right down the center so that you only see one side of it. This is your bladder here, this structure. This is your uterus here. Your uterus sits on top of your bladder. And now I'll show you a model of your bladder all by itself. So here's our pelvis, and I am going to take the bladder, this red structure, out of the model. Now, your bladder is actually a very thin-walled structure. It really is a lot like a balloon. It's got a very thin wall. And the thin wall stretches to accommodate urine until it's full. And then you urinate. And then the process starts again. So your poor little bladder lives its whole life with your uterus sitting on top of it. It's like this, your uterus on top of your bladder. That's how it is. Your uterus is much bigger and much heavier than your bladder. And you know how you push to have a bowel movement? Whenever you do that, you push everything in your abdomen downward. Your stomach, your intestines, your uterus, all down right onto your bladder. So, when you have a bowel movement, it's like you take all the structures and push downward. You do the same thing when you cough, sneeze, lift something heavy, or even laugh. So over the course of your lifetime, you put a lot of pressure on your weak little bladder. And then you go and get pregnant. And you know what happens when you get pregnant? Your uterus starts growing to house the growing fetus. And then it gets even bigger. And bigger. Your uterus increases 500 to 1,000 times when you get pregnant. And that accounts for only one fetus. If you have twins, triplets, etc., it's much larger than that. And your pregnant uterus is very heavy. It consists of 3 pounds of uterine tissue, 4 pounds of amniotic fluid, 2 pounds of placenta, and 8 pounds of baby. It's 15 times heavier than it was before you ever got pregnant. So there's your poor little bladder, buried under all this weight for months. And of course, you still cough and sneeze and push to have bowel movements. And then comes time to deliver the baby. And what do? You push for hours and hours and hours, pressing all of this down onto the bladder with every single push. Eventually, the entire baby pushes past your bladder. Now, do you think your poor little bladder endures all that trauma without any consequence? Do you think that your bladder just goes right back to its normal position? Dream on, not by a long shot. Your bladder is altered forever. It will never, ever, ever be able to climb back up to where it once sat. So it starts to sag. And with each pregnancy, it sags some more. And if you gain weight in your abdomen, it sags more still. And when you lose your estrogen at postmenopause, that's the last straw. Your bladder sags so much that it starts pushing down on your vagina as if it's trying to deliver itself through your vagina. There's a name for that. It's called prolapse, and things start pushing out your vagina. At postmenopause, your bladder sags so much that you leak urine when you cough, sneeze, lift, laugh, etc. And it's because your bladder is sagging so much already that it just can't hold anything. This is another of the symptoms that women don't talk about enough. They even fail to mention it to their doctors. Speak up. There are all sorts of treatments for this. So the common theme here in this video is that many parts of your body start sagging or reach a critical limit for sagging at postmenopause. Your skin, your butt, your breasts, and your bladder all sag. And now you understand why. When we get to the videos where I discuss each one of these individually, I'll be giving you options in every category for managing them. But here, I am just trying to show you the common threads for what happens at menopause. And now, I'm sure you're in a sour mood. I'm sorry, but at least you're learning. Next week, I'll talk about what gets harder at menopause. If you need me to visit with you individually and discuss any of these things or anything, schedule a one-on-one consultation at my website, which is menopausetailor.me. In the meantime, between now and next week, you can follow me on Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. Subscribe to my channel so that you get all these videos, and I will see you next week. Bye!